Missouri's last remaining abortion clinic is planning to defy state law. Planned Parenthood of St. Louis says it will not comply with the new state requirement to conduct a second pelvic exam days before an abortion.
The move puts the clinic at risk of losing its license as soon as tomorrow.
CBSNews.com reporter Kate Smith has been following this story, and she joins us now from St. Louis. So, Kate, Missouri, as you know, has some of the most restrictive abortion laws in the country. What other procedures were people required to undergo before being able to get an abortion?
Good morning, Anne-Marie and Vlad. You're right. Missouri is one of the most restrictive states to both perform and receive an abortion. So some of those things are there's a 72-hour waiting period from your initial consultation, from your actual procedure. You have to get consent from a parent as well as notification from your other parent. And you also can't get any aspect of abortion covered by any insurance plan, public or private. So it truly is one of the most restrictive states to get an abortion in the entire country.
So Planned Parenthood is saying that it's going to violate this requirement of a second pelvic exam. They could just continue to do this second pelvic exam, which is what they've been doing, and ensure that their license is maintained. Why are they choosing not to?
So let me break this down. What happened was there's a state regulation that requires a pelvic exam before a surgical abortion in the state of Missouri. Now, what happened in late May is the state came back and said they are reinterpreting that state regulation to mean that you have to have two pelvic exams, one at the time of that consent that we spoke about at the beginning of the 72 hours, and then another pelvic exam at the time of your actual procedure. But what the doctors came back and said that initial one, when there's no surgical procedure going on, it's really just a consultation. It's completely medically irrelevant. It serves them no purpose. They don't do anything with the information that they're gaining from that pelvic exam. So they complied for a little bit, and then after a couple of weeks, Dr. Eisenberg, the medical director here at Planned Parenthood, said essentially enough is enough. He said that he was violating his patients. He said it borderlined on assault, and it was ultimately medically irrelevant. And he said that, this is the line, and this is the line I can't cross in order to, not be in breach of my medical ethics to continue providing care for the women of Missouri.
So, all right, Kate, so if the Missouri Health Department decides not to renew Planned Parenthood's license in St. Louis, what will happen next for the very last abortion clinic in the state?
There's a chance that it might have to stop providing abortions. So what happens today is we'll probably get a decision from the state about the license. They'll approve it or deny it. Now, let's say that they deny the license. Tomorrow, we're going to be in court with a judge who's going to determine where do we go now? Because Planned Parenthood is obviously going to appeal this decision. And what's going to happen in court tomorrow is they're going to decide the jurisdiction of this case. Here's why that's important. There are two different ways this could go. It could either go and remain in the courts. Now, if you stay in the courts, you're going to be dealing with Supreme Court law. And so you have a lot of precedent that would argue that this clinic should stay open. There have been multiple cases, just like in Missouri, where there's one clinic left, it might have to close, and judges step in and ultimately save those clinics. But there's another option, and it could go to this thing called the Administrative Hearing Committee. What that is a governor-appointed board of medical professionals that deal with these kinds of things all the time. So you could have a dermatologist office or a colonoscopy provider, things like that, and they decide on the license. Why that would be a problem for Planned Parenthood is, again, those are governor-appointed people on that panel. These are people who don't want abortion in the state of Missouri. They're anti-abortion people, and they will ultimately side, we think, with the state. So depending on which way the judge goes will really decide the fate of this clinic.
So I bet a lot of states are going to be watching what's happening here. You've talked to us before about sort of the restrictive laws that are popping up in a number of states across the country. Is this going to be sort of a test?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Missouri has really led the way when it comes to restricting abortions in creative ways, if you will. Back in the 80s, they were the first people who designed trap laws. Those are targeted regulation of abortion providers. And a lot of people in the anti-abortion world believe Missouri to be kind of at the forefront of figuring out how to restrict abortion. So if this is ultimately successful, there's a very good chance that you could see states across the country using the license renewal process as a way of, restricting and ultimately shutting down abortion in their own states. and they'll have the legal precedent to work with and a roadmap.
All right, well, we will be watching closely to see how this unfolds. Kate Smith, thank you very much.
Thank you.